Are having some technical difficulties. Hi, welcome to Spiritual Alchemy Energy, the podcast with Julie. We are experiencing some technical difficulties. My guest is here, and I'm ready to speak with her. Let me see if I have to email her. Okay, just come back in. Hold on, folks. I'm here. Sorry. So, I want to wait till she comes back in. Seems to be working better. I do not know. Well, I am here. I am ready. Okay. We'll see if this works better. We had some issues, technical issues last week too, but we had a storm last week. Okay, let's see if this is better. Welcome to the show, Alyssa. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Julie, for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
We're freezing again. I want to carry on a conversation. And okay, let's see if we can get through this.
I can hear you.
Okay. Alyssa is a fashion author and entrepreneur. She's written a book, Healthy Fashion: The Deeper Truths. And she's also done these incredible things. And I kind of want to go over those because it's a very interesting background that you have. You've lived in ashrams and monasteries. You've been a 5-star chef. And you're a fine artist and illustrator as well.
Yes. Yes, it's not, people don't often actually notice that, but yes, it's true.
I find it very interesting. I mean, we are, multidimensional. We carry different personalities, different parts of us around. And I feel like they're all part of us. So I find it very interesting to talk about, other things that you've done in your life that ultimately contribute to who you are now and what you do now. Tell us a little bit about your experiences in the ashrams and the monasteries and what led you there.
Sure. So,
the ashrams.
Yes, I love ashrams and monasteries. And when I originally went to my first ashram stay, it was a Shivananda Vedanta Center in San Francisco. And I was very young, in my early 20s, and I really wanted to get into yoga and just have that community and atmosphere. So I went to Shivananda Vedanta, and I really enjoyed myself. I was really immersed within the spiritual lifestyle, and the swamis that lead the groups are very spiritual and healthy people. So my whole idea of living in a community center with like-minded people really helped me, because it's often difficult to go out into the real world and find, like-minded people who are interested in spirituality. But it's also a place that's quite introverted. You can be quiet, and you don't have to be, boisterous. And for me personally, being on the path of spirituality, I'm a very thoughtful person. I do a lot of thinking, and I think that's where my author skills come from in the concepts in the book, because I do a lot of thinking and processing. And so living at the ashrams and monasteries, it had two different points. There was that community, that sense of, working and living together and being in that sort of healthy atmosphere. And it was also the more of the quiet part of the monastery and ashram, where when you do live in these types of communities, it's not very loud and talkative, and to a certain extent it is. But there is times where you can be quiet and it's okay. You don't have to be really talkative and extroverted. I really enjoyed my time also at the Yogananda Center in Yoga of Excellence in Vanderbilt, Michigan. And Yogananda is a famous guru who traveled from India to Los Angeles to build a center and multiple centers. And he brought the teachings of spirituality to the States. And he's a very spiritual, amazing person. Some believe he's an ascended master. But I was really in tune with Yogananda and at the Vanderbilt Yogananda of Excellence. And I was really in tune with that energy that was being evoked there, because nobody worships Yogananda, but you follow the teachings and you do the mantras and the singing and whatnot. So I truly love living at ashrams, ashrams and monasteries. And the last place that I was at was the monastery in Bhavana Society in West Virginia. And that's where I was the kitchen manager cook. And I also got a experience cooking for the monks, and Bhante Gunaratana, who was the lead monk. And he is also author. He wrote a lot of books. He's pretty renowned. So it was a great experience.
Okay. I'm gonna have to contact them after the show, because this week and last week were interesting story. So how did you become a 5-star chef from all that cooking in the monasteries and ashrams?
Well, I got my first cooking position when I was in Michigan. I was an assistant cook. So I got to just do whatever. My mother never taught me to cook. I never was really in the kitchen ever growing up in childhood or anything. I wasn't really allowed to go near the kitchen or the oven. So I was self-taught. And then living at I was self-taught, and when I arrived at the monastery, I had to think, plan, and organize food for about 13 months. And then we had retreats. So I had to think about large groups and how much to purchase for large groups. And for some reason, I really just was really just good at it. I did a ton of research on the side. So while I was cooking in the morning, I spent my afternoons researching all types of world recipes and world foods from around the world, because I have such a strong passion. And also, I believe too, in a past life, I may have been into food and recipes and cooking, because I ended up using my intuition and the pendulum to be able to pick and choose specific ingredients to go into recipes to make them tastier and better. So it wasn't just me cooking. I was actually using my spirit guides to help me cook.
Wow, very cool. I've heard of people using pendulums on their food to choose what foods to eat or best to eat for them or not. So that's interesting. Wow. Very cool. So the art,
Yes.
Was that in your past?
Well, thank you for asking me, because I I started drawing when I was a teenager. I was around 16 years old, and I was starting to draw little stick figures with clothes, fashion illustrations. But they were the worst illustrations you could possibly look at. So I developed myself taking art classes outside of school and within high school, and then I went to design school. And I practiced a lot of art classes in the university in San Francisco, Academy of Art University. So I started as a teenager drawing. I was really awful at it, and then I just kept drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing, and then I just got really, 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 really good. And then in my 20s, I ended up landing a freelance project. There was a lady named Elizabeth Foley. She is a healer, angel messenger, psychic, and she wanted me to create the illustrations for her oracle card deck. So there were little fairies. So I drew all of these little fairy illustration paintings, and it was so much fun. And it felt like I was channeling. Felt like I was channeling the art. And the bad side of that is you have to be really careful because sometimes there can be interference and that the art can get really strange. And that has happened to me before. But her art was protected. And, I noticed too, I would drink so much water when I was doing the illustrations because I had to constantly purify my body when I was making those illustrations. I also illustrated a collection of angel paintings, fine art angel paintings, and I sold them at an expo. I sold a few of them on an expo. I gave a few away. And then I ended up trashing some of them, and I deleted the website with all of the artwork. So that was a real mess, and I felt like it wasn't me that did that. I felt like it was a real mistake. So, but my last illustration project was with a lady who unfortunately has passed from coronavirus. Her name is Sue Singleton, and she was a remarkable lady. She had a husband. It was like a husband-wife duo. They were a healing energy team, and they are the founders of The Way to Balance. And she tragically passed from coronavirus last August. However, I was the illustrator for her book, 9 Laws of Grace, 9 Simple Laws of Grace, and the cover art and the illustrations are by me, and these were special projects to me, and I really would love to do more art, do my fine art. There's just so much time, there's so little time and so much to do, Julie? Julie? Okay. Yeah, it's just a little frozen. Because I can't hear you. Okay. Hello? Oh, I can't hear you, but is that okay? You want me to just keep talking? Okay. Yes. So with my fashion work as a planetary energy healer, I have also dabbled into the energy work, and that sort of brought my holistic perspective of fashion into the picture. But moving backwards, going back into my retail stage, I spent 15 years working in fashion retail, and I loved most all of it. It's a little boring, fashion retail, but it's also really, really fun. And I worked in customer service, styling, merchandising, management. I did everything in retail. And having that background in fashion retail really gave the book support, because I really was able to identify with the customer and what the customer wants to wear. And also, I did a lot of styling because I just love being able to style and put together clothes. So with my fashion retail, my background with the Academy of Art University, going to college in fashion design, I loved it, but I also wanted more. So that's when I started to begin my fashion entrepreneurial projects, fashion blogging, creating and producing a fashion show, Alternative Fashion 2014. I also had a little news media site called Alternative Fashion Media, and a fashion brand. I created a handmade fashion brand named Alternative Fashion, which did end up getting into the Saks Fifth Avenue talent search competition. So with all of this diverse projects and things that I've done, it was really important and enabled me to be able to write Healthy Fashion, The Deeper Truths, along with my work in living in the ashrams and monasteries and as a planetary energy healer. With that parallel, I wanted to bring fashion into a more of a modern approach, a health holistic alternative remedy, fashion as an alternative remedy. And little things here and there kind of made me realize that as we are multidimensional beings, as Julie had said, we should appreciate and look at clothing as multidimensional. And that's where I developed concepts and teachings in regards to wearing and designing or producing, as a fashion professional or fashion consumer, clothes that are specific for the mental body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, the energetic body, and the emotional body. And when we use fashion for each body, we're actually looking at the bigger picture, the multidimensional perspective of how fashion can treat the body in a truly progressive, advanced way. And I even go as far as to say that fashion can be medicinal. Fashion can treat the body in a curative way, such as wearing specific colors, wearing specific tactile textures, wearing specific types of prints and visuals, as well as fabrics that have infusions of herbs or botanicals, as well as plant-based apparel, which is the most breathable and healthiest and pH balanced type of fabric we can wear. Julie, are you there? Julie? Okay, great. Just so everybody knows, Julie is just giving me through the chat some of the questions. So she also says now, fashion for healing. So yeah, when we talk about healthy fashion, it's really about spiritual fashion, and it's really about fashion for the five bodies. And spiritual fashion is truly something that is important part of how and what we wear. So what the difference between divine fashion versus evil fashion, or the difference between egotistical fashion versus non-egotistical fashion. And that's part of the mental body. How we address and perceive fashion through our mentality, our mental body, is one example. For the spiritual fashion, what I am talking about there is there's a specific spiritual awakening and spiritual ascension that is happening on Earth. And I'm very into New Age. I'm very into the ascension, the awakening on Earth. Some people say that there's the coming of Christ and all of the evil will be transmutated. Yes. So the colors, the fabrics connected to the mind, body, and spirit. Yes, the colors are specifically connected to the mind, body, and spirit. Color therapy is a very important tool. In the Egyptian times, people would choose to go into the colored Solarian rooms, and they would be treated with a specific type of colored light. So if we use, let's say, like a blue light, it could treat our jaundice. So if we wear a fabric that has the color blue, it can treat jaundice. The same frequency and energy is within the dye and the energy of the colored dye, like the colored lights. So color therapy, we truly have not had enough science to really show us and reveal what color can do for us. But, if you walk into a room and you see people wearing specific colors and you're very drawn to them, we are very inspired by color. Color can treat us emotionally too. There's different types of colors that we're supposed to be wearing as well, our signature colors. And I don't dabble into strict specific colors for people. I think everybody can wear every single color, whatever they want, whatever they like. But there are definitely specific colors because as a soul being, we emit a specific frequency out into the earth and through a specific color. I imagine mine is aquamarine color is the specific color that I like to use. So if I wore more aquamarine, it can enhance and emit the frequency, the energetic frequency of my signature color, or my soul color. And also with the colors of the aura, when we choose to say wear red, it can help support the root chakra, the life force. Or purple. Purple is the highest color, and it can be associated with the violet flame, transmutation, purification. So wearing that color purple will also help support the crown chakra. Okay, and then fabrics. So with the fabrics, there's two different types of fabrics. There's the plant-based fabrics and the synthetic fabrics. And the synthetic fabrics are becoming a problem because they're not biodegradable. They're not pH balanced. They're slightly acidic because they're not breathable either. And if you think about what polyester is...
No, thanks.
Oh, you're back.
I'm back. I went out and came back.
Yay.
Maybe we can actually have a conversation.
Yes. Yes, that'd be great.
I'm so sorry. So
it looks clear. It looks clear. I can see you well.
So you're talking about the fabrics. I know everything has a different frequency. So like light fabrics versus heavier fabrics. What kind of frequencies do those contribute? Just how we feel about those fabrics against our skin, or?
Well, I can tell you that the frequency of the plant cellulose-based fibers are different than synthetic. And there's a research center in India that had studied the differences between polyester synthetic versus cotton plant-based. And they found that the polyester is considered tamasic, which is in Sanskrit for toxic, and cotton is sattvic, which is in Sanskrit purity, purification. So there's a certain level of frequency within the plants that give us support and help our body. Specifically, it should be designed to be worn. And I'm not just talking about cotton, I'm talking about linen and rami and hemp and bamboo and nettle and even seaweed fabric, cactus fabric, all of these variations of fabrics that I believe are going to become more and more popular and become more and more of the demand once we realize that synthetic fabrics, the energy of synthetic is, I wouldn't go as far to say negative, because I still wear synthetic and everything, and I don't wear a lot of it, but I have some coats and some shoes. It's really hard to get away from synthetic. It's really, if you go into a store, almost 90 to 95% of all product is synthetic within the stores. You have to shop online if you want to get all plant-based. So back to what you'd said with the frequencies and the energies. As an energy healer, I'm extremely sensitive to materials. I'm extremely sensitive to materials because my energy is sort of like within the fabric. It's kind of, we're creating this interconnection between our energy body and the materials that we wear. So wearing plants is ideal. And if you do wear synthetic, the more balanced type of synthetics are if they're extremely ergonomic, if they're extremely comfortable, if they don't bother your skin, if you're not itching, if you aren't feeling suffocated, and that can happen with, if you're wearing too tight of clothes. So say if it's a looser fitting jacket over a t-shirt that's made out of plants, that's fine, But at this point, there's definitely been some research in cases that do consider plant-based having a higher frequency. In linen is one. Linen was biblically spoken about. And it's interesting to say that in this research study, if you wore plants with wool and you combine the two, your energy field would collapse. And I can't go into the specific science behind it, but if you Google it, wearing cotton with a wool jacket, say, your energy body can collapse, meaning there's something energetically wrong with the mixture of those two materials. So that's something to think about. But with the lightweight or heavyweight, there's a whole world of fabric weights and textures and styles. And what's upsetting, though, too, is that there's thousands of different types of styles of fabrics within the synthetics of the textile industry. But if you move into the plant-based textile industry, you don't get an assortment that the synthetics have, because we started producing all of these synthetics in the 1930s, and then the boom just took over. But right now, we really have to figure out that the ingredient itself and the assortment of ingredients that create polyester is possibly carcinogenic and toxic due to the 8,000 different types of chemicals that they're using within the fabric and dyes. So we do have to consider botanicals and herbs and low impact types of dyes, less chemicals or less harsh chemicals, and consider wearing more plants, especially with your spiritual alchemy. show. I mean, within alchemy, we're trying to create a specific type of alchemy of dressing within our human self with the clothes. So when we wear plants, we're having that plant-human connection. We're creating, like when you go out into the ocean and the wilderness, you get the energy of the nature. And so when we wear nature, it's going to help.
Interesting. Very interesting. I'm sorry I didn't read your book. But I need you to touch on a few more things in your book that maybe I didn't pick up from your website, such as what does this do to you emotionally and mentally from wearing, these types of clothing? I mean, obviously, physically what it's going to do and that effect when you're wearing it.
Yes. So I'd like to let you know with the mental aspect of fashion, what we're dealing with is, a society that's slightly brainwashed, and we've been like hypnotized with the fashion marketing, with the magazines and the movies and TV. We're kind of looking at all of this fashion that is slightly egotistical based. Shallow fashion. We're not going deeper into the realm of fashion that is, honoring the body, honoring each other. And it's happened to me. I would go out, and looking at people's outfits and judging their outfits. And it was slightly a negative for me. And so what I found is the Jungian Archetypes is the perfect theory to help initiate new philosophical thinking behind how we see and perceive fashion. And the Jungian Archetypes, the rebel, the clown, the crone, the magician, we can look at different types of outfits and say I saw a gentleman wearing an athletic ensemble and I said, oh, he's a jock. He looks like a jock. Well, I like to actually shift my thinking, and I like to perceive the person as the adventurer archetype and the hero archetype. He's dressed like an adventurer. He's dressed like the hero archetype. He's using elements. So when I'm honoring this person's dress versus saying, oh, this person's using the superficial language and terminology of saying he's a jock is kind of lessening fashion. It's disrespecting fashion, actually. So using the Jungian archetypes, this is going to help our mental health. And I know it's not like a simple way of thinking of how fashion can help us mentally. But if we choose to honor and respect everybody's outfits as well as our own, I do find that it's going to modernize fashion and even fashion marketing, when we go and just get it a little deeper with how we perceive fashion. And I love Jungian archetypes, and I also believe that we all kind of have, like you had said, different personalities. We have different gifts and talents, and we kind of also dabble in these different Jungian archetypes. So if you dress in one archetype, say, it may look like one archetype, but you're actually embracing several archetypes at once, most typically, which will help us. It helps us connect with our archetypes. It helps connect with sort of just interesting, more just spiritual, more spiritual way of perceiving fashion. And so, did you have any questions about that, or do you want me to talk about emotions?
I find that, well, after this bit, I I just wanted to comment. I think it's a very interesting perspective to take. And so now I'll probably be looking at people differently based on what you just said.
That's the point, yeah, and that would be amazing if you did. So yes, I still have to practice fashion, just like you, and we're all healthy fashion practitioners. I like to call myself a fashion practitioner because if we wear clothes, we're practicing fashion, and fashion is a constant,
Mm-hmm.
healthy ritual, a positive ritual in our life that is truly a way to connect with our inner self. So when you speak of the emotions, um, actually, we can talk a little bit about laundry if you don't mind. Laundry, dirty laundry specifically, it has a lot of our emotional residue, our emotional energetic residue. So that's why they say in Feng Shui, keep your dirty clothes in the closet or away from sight because of the accumulation of residual energies that are possibly negative on the clothes. Because lots of times when I go into the laundromat, um, and I feel the clothes, it might not have debris or dirt or soil on the clothes, yet the clothes feel dirty, and that's the energy. That's the emotions that are being constantly released, and the electricity off our body that's constantly being released onto the clothes. So I say to help with our emotions, wearing clean fibers will help, as well as saging. If you don't clean your clothes every day, you can sage. You can spray with essential oils or crystal gem elixirs, because getting that infused fibers nice and clean so that it can absorb our emotions. Because the plants actually are like crystals. They're crystalline in appearance, like the cellulose fibers are crystalline in appearance, and the plants absorb energy like the crystals do. So when we're wearing these clothes, we really want to freshen up our clothing every day so that we can have that proper release of residual emotions come through us, and also using different types of tools like sea salt and sage brushing or incense or essential oil sprays or whatever. What I'm getting at is clothing truly is helping our emotions and our emotional releases throughout the day, and it almost acts like a conductor, like a crystal too, to enhance our emotions as well.
I have about secondhand clothing and the energy. Um, I used to be a really big thrift shopper, and having, I think it would have an effect on me at times. So have you discovered that in what you do?
Have a negative effect, you said? Are
Or
you saying
just
you had?
like taking on a different energy,
Yes,
like
yes,
the person that wore the clothing before, having a certain
yes.
personality, that energy was like in the clothing. That's what I mean. Interesting thing looking back
I,
on it.
yeah. Well, that's exactly what I've had. I've had thoughts completely exactly that what you just thought, taking on the personality and the energy of the person wearing it before you. And there's two things. You do have to look out for those types of pieces that you can just see they were tainted. That's tainted fashion, yes. There are pieces that are secondhand
Mm,
that are not tainted, but the ones you are speaking about, yes, they're tainted. They're
mm.
smothered with the energy that's completely almost impossible to get rid of. So yes, you can pick up on tainted fashion very specifically. Some people more than others some people can't pick that up. But I guess if you're not sensitive to that of tainted fashion, just put it on the clothing, and if it feels a little off, then it might be tainted, and we can, and that can be, it can be recycled, or someone else can wear it. If I'm not trying to pass on a tainted garment to someone else, but I would definitely do your best to stay away from tainted clothing. And that's a good question, Julie, because it's true. It really does exist.
Yeah. Well, I have confirmation. It wasn't just in my mind. It does exist. So, making other people aware of it when they are out there secondhand shopping. I try to stay away from that now because I'm so sensitive. Is there? Okay, we kind of.
It's a great topic. It's a great topic. Glad you brought it up, because I would like to talk about it more. Just in general. Well, I'm not saying like right now, but I'm just saying like in general, it's a topic that does need to be addressed.
And I'm sure, to take this to a next level, I know you don't really want to talk about right now necessarily, but going different places and having experiences in that particular clothing picks up energy from other people, other places, that may or may not be tainted in a sense. So that also comes into play too. Interesting conversation. So as you're doing this particular work now, what is your place? Do you help clients, select the right clothing? Do you direct them to the right place to purchase them? And I'm also curious, I used to be in fashion a long time ago in high school, sewing my own clothes and stuff, and watching the catwalk on Saturday morning on CNN. That was my thing. So who's a big fashion designers or companies that are making the shift to this, mind, body, and spirit shift, if you will?
Well, yes, there it is happening. The wellness trend in fashion was really supported by the coronavirus. I know it's kind of sad to say, but everybody sort of tried to be more protective with their clothing and also be more comfortable. So, when we're dressing more comfortably, we're wearing healthy fashion, because if we're comfortable, that's really one of the most important pieces. But the wellness trend also has been supported by the activewear and the athleisure fashion markets. So ergonomic fashion, which is a big topic in my book. Well, I didn't write, the several chapters on it, but it's a big concept. Ergonomic fashion designed for performance, fashion designed to function, fashion designed to work for the body specifically. And in the activewear and athleisure markets, they do design clothes that support that. And even in the luxury apparel markets, I don't often like to talk about luxury fashion because not everybody can afford it, but luxury apparel should definitely be influenced within all fashion markets, because a lot of their designs are smooth, they're sleek, they're clean, they're easy, they're minimal, and they're healthy. So I'm not specifically talking about a style genre, I'm just talking about design elements. But my work is catered to the fashion professional and the fashion consumer, but also the light worker and the energy healers and the people in New Age and mind, body, spirit. Because if you're interested in all those topics, you're definitely going to be interested in this type of fashion, because really what I'm doing here is I'm creating fashion as an alternative healing modality. It's fashion that can be worked to treat the mind, body, and spirit in a very alternative way. Alternative meaning natural, holistic, healing, spiritual. So there's 3 markets and 3 people that truly appreciate my work, and I have had people that want consultations. I'm not personally doing consultations yet, but I'm in the works to do consultations for companies and even, entrepreneurs and whatnot. Because I would really like to bring this approach and help other fashion businesses that want to market their clothes in what you said, in more of the mind body wellness trend sector of the industries. But I also have a large interest in fashion and the environment, and fashion and plant-based textiles. So the textile community as well have been getting very interested in my work and interested in ideas of the variation of plant-based fibers within aquatic plants, deserts, invasive weeds, agricultural waste, and so on. And so when we choose to use the different plants, that's when we're going to create the demand. And also, the consumer is really the one that has to approach plant-based fashion and healthy fashion, because if we don't pick up on these specific ways of dressing, there's no way the designers are going to just change on their own. We kind of need to make the demand, and it's collectively happening. I mean, I'm practically unimportant in the grand scheme of things. I'm not that important, but the thing is, when you, but I'm doing my little piece. I'm doing my part. It's collective energy, and I believe that a lot of people are going to be moving forward, and every single field of industry, whether it's automobiles, music, cinema, every single field of industry is going to be more designed for healing and health in the modern age, in the new golden age.
Right, exactly. I totally agree. I mean, a lot of the synthetics, there, it's petroleum. We're wearing like basically gasoline on us, you
Yeah.
know, and how they treat the material too. On top of it, I mean, they use harsh chemicals on our clothing, and you know,
Oh, sorry, Julie.
you're making a 10. Oh, I'm sorry. Um, I was just saying, they put these harsh chemicals. They're not just made of chemicals. They're sprayed with chemicals. Like
Exactly.
children's pajamas are flame retardant. They're treated um, with flame retardant. You know, um,
Yes.
so it's consumer awareness, collective awareness is very important. Your work is very important. So thank you for what you're doing. Um, I totally agree with you that things are going to move that way with all industry, and being conscious of, more conscious altogether, how we're producing things, what we're producing, um, what we're consuming as well, not just internally. I want to touch on what you have on your website. I'm not sure if you can hear
Yep.
me.
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I did.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there you go. Keep cutting back and forth. See, you do have some resources on your website for the general public. I think one of them is they have to sign up for, which is the fashion calendar.
Yes. Yes. You can go
Can
and
you explain?
subscribe. You can subscribe to my channel, my website, and you will get a free fashion calendar of like dozens. I don't even recall how many. There's so many fashion events that are seasonal. That are yearly. They come around every year. And on my free resource page, there's a few lists. One of them is fashion certifications that you want to look out for. So basically, it's just giving you a rundown of different types of certifications, and many brands take advantage of these certifications. One of them being GOTS, Global Organic Textile Standard. I don't know if you're in the States, but if you're in the States, there's Target, and all of their sheets are certified Global Organic Textile Standard. And some certifications are labeled for sustainable practice. So if you want to support sustainability too, but a lot of these different certifications also support, low impact fashion, less harsh dyes and whatnot. And I have other resources available, and I have a blog of 40 blogs, 40 articles, which gives a whole host of information in regards to fashion for health. And that might give you a little bit of a feel of what's in the book. So the fashion resources that are available are on my free resources page and on my blog page. And I would, be happy to answer any more questions too that you have. Feel free to reach out to me. I love to help people and think about fashion a new way. And like you, Julie, I love meeting people like you because you just get so inspired. Like people are really interested. It's really fun. I've met people who are truly inspired about healthy fashion, like you, Julie, and I really appreciate that you're inspired.
I think it's really cool. I've always thought what would be cool is to have pajamas that had all the chakra colors on it. So, or sheets and pillowcases.
That would be
I mean,
so
it might
amazing.
keep you up at night.
Oh, that would be amazing. No, that would be really amazing. That's a great idea. You should do that. You should do it.
with pockets for crystals to put, so you can energize
Yeah,
at night when you sleep.
that's an amazing idea too. You should totally do it. And you know what? People will buy it. I mean,
It's funny though.
I do the same thing. I have this big magnet that I sleep with sometimes, and it's always like you can't like cling it to yourself unless you tape it to your body. So yeah, no, that's a good idea, having the crystals with the pockets. I've never thought of that. That's a brilliant idea.
And a hat, for the crown and your third eye. So you have a little cap you wear at night.
That would be great. Yes. Yeah, I think it's important. I love crystals.
I didn't make it to fashion design, but I think it's a cool idea. Somebody's gonna take it, and I'm good with it. Go copyright it, trademark it. I got things to do. But,
You just pass it off. Someone will do it.
That's what we're gonna see next year, or by the end of this year, people are gonna have like the chakra colored long johns.
Yes.
It's coming,
That's a
people.
good idea. It's an actual great idea.
Oh boy. So, this I came across this on your YouTube channel. So you do have a YouTube channel out there. So there are really cool things on there to go and discuss, advice from you, knowledge and advice from you. I didn't watch everything, but what I found interesting was you had a video of light language and channeling.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
is that you doing the light language and channeling?
Yes.
Oh
Yeah,
my
I
God.
do that. I can do light language. Yeah, I do healing
Do
light
you
language.
read? Do
What?
you read? Can you translate light language?
Oh no, no, no. I don't. All it to me, it's a healing. When when it happens to me, it happened to me today. It's a healing transfer. So there is, I believe it's ascended master consciousness. I'm hooking up into the ascended master consciousness, and it's healing my body and protecting my body. It's protecting my aura, and it creates a shield. So
Mm.
right now I can't interpret it. Maybe down the road I can. But right now, I specifically do it for protection and healing. And I apologize. Sorry if I'm fidgeting around. I've had a little bit of a spine issue.
um, I think where did I get?
I'm sorry, you're cutting out, Julie. Oh, frozen. It froze.
I have met people. Can you hear me
Oh,
now?
yes, yes. Yeah.
I have met I have met people that can interpret light language, and it's been very interesting. Now, where at in my own path, I find it fascinating for people to actually interpret it and understand it.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
mean,
it's
it,
just something I had to.
no, I personally find that for me, it sounds like a foreign language. Um, and personally, when I do the language, I act as a portal, like a channel. So when people
Mhm.
hear my voice, I'm projecting, and then they're getting that channel portal activation through the Ascended Master Consciousness. But interpretation wise, I believe that I have a block. There's interference that would keep me from knowing what is being said.
It's fascinating to me.
Thank
It's
you.
just fascinating because everybody can pretty much. It's bringing that frequency in for
Yes,
that healing. It's just I don't know. I will probably be using that's part of our voice too, and our expression as well.
that's true.
So I
No,
don't know. I
yeah, you'll do
I
it.
go off on these little tangents.
You'll probably do it. You'll probably eventually do it. I only just started practicing light language for a few years now. I never knew how to do it back then. Only these past 3 years or so.
Huh. I'm gonna have to look more into it. Okay, good night, Joanne. Thank you for tuning in and sticking with us. She's been. Is there anything that you would like to share with my, this audience tonight before we close?
Well, I just love your concept, spiritual alchemy, and I really love your work and what you're doing. So I'm really fortunate and happy to be on your show and be a part of it. And I have my own, research. I have to check more of your videos because I watched a couple this week, and I was like, wow, I can relate with you so much. And I think that's, part of why your work is so great is because you're really relatable and you're advanced too with your spiritual work, especially with what you've gone through in some of your stories. So I am really happy that I met you and happy to be on Spiritual Alchemy radio show.
Well, thank you so much. How sweet are you? I'm glad we got to chat and we got through all these technical issues, and someone's going to make those pajamas and clothing to wear at night.
Exactly. No, it's going to happen.
And I'm ready to buy them.
No, you should
I'm ready
totally
to purchase them.
Oh yeah.
My little baby.
If you don't do it, I'll make notes too, and I'll say Julie wants you to design something, and I'll have a designer design it.
There you go. I'll walk the catwalk. Oh my goodness. I just want to thank you for what you do. I think it's really important, and it's really, really years. I really, you're an advocate for this, and it's important, especially, the clothing that we put on our children, and
Yep.
what they're absorbing through the clothing is not good. So what your work is very important and very needed here. So thank you for coming and talking to me tonight. I want to thank our audience that stuck with us, ask questions. I appreciate it. Appreciate our future listeners, and future viewers. Thank you, and have a great night.